Now, and we are live. And hello. Apologies about the delay, as Jen said she had trouble wrangling her pussy. Um, so,
Right over
so,
there, Christian. Right over there.
yeah, tonight is all about B movies, and we were supposed to be joined by Wabanashi. She's having some technical issues. I feel bad, but we're definitely going to have her on another stream. Tonight, I am joined by my gorgeous girlfriend and her just as delightful offspring, Christian. Hopefully, they will use their advanced horror knowledge to pave a way of so many B movies. And I'm fucking rambling. Fuck it. Anyway, below us here we have Maddie. Maddie, introduce yourself. Tell people a bit about your channel and stuff.
Well, my name's Maddie, for one, and I have a new channel called Movie Matic, and it's just me and my friend Velanie talking about all sorts of movies. Our favorites are like horror. She's really into sci-fi. I'm mostly like horror and like international stuff in general. And then we're also gonna do some like reviews, movie hunts, some like watch along live streams. I just did a watch along with her on Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers the other day. So yeah, it's just about hanging out and chatting about movies and having fun. So
And that's what it should be all about. And if you haven't subbed to Maddie's channel, I'm going to leave a link in the description at the end of the stream. For some reason, it doesn't let you put it up. And lastly, but not leastly, we have always welcome, always awesome, always gorgeous, always fantastic, Ethel Cross. Ethel, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How's it going?
We missed you. We missed you more than Christian, but don't tell Christian. Anyway,
I would too.
But yeah, tonight we're talking B movies. I think Jen and Christian, because they have the fucking King James Bible of a list of movies here to discuss when it comes to B movies. We're going to be talking about sci-fi. But I think poor Maddie thinks that we were going to be talking about sci-fi. We're not. We're going to be doing horror as well. We're going to be doing stuff across the spectrum. And I definitely think this is Ethel's wheelhouse as well, because Ethel loves herself some B movies. So before we start, Jen, Christian, what do you think makes the criteria for a B movie, and what makes it a good B movie?
I would just first like to say, how dare you insult me? This stack is infinitely larger than the King James Bible.
Okay.
It depends on what era you're talking about, because like 50s sci-fi stuff like Roman is drastically different than something a bit more contemporary. It just kind of also just kind of comes down to like a spirit and a feel of like campy fun. Like, does this movie feel like it could be shown on Mystery Science Theater or be introduced by the likes of Elvira or Mr. Lobo or Svengoolie or something? Like, that's kind of how I define a B movie. Is can it be introduced by a campy TV host or riffed by a guy and some robots?
That's a good way to plug it. Jen, my sexy Minnie Mouse lookalike. What do you think classifies a B movie? What do you think makes a good B movie?
It's much like beauty, Marty. It's in the eye of the beholder. Like, what I might think is a B movie, someone else might go, "You fucking stupid bitch. That's not a B movie. That's a fucking classic. How dare you?" So I think it's really in the, but I think camp is part of it. I think fun is part of it. Something that kind of makes you smile even if you don't want to. Like maybe it's a little distasteful. It's a little janky of a story, but you're still kind of smiling and having a good time. It's maybe maybe not A material like it says B movie, but it's still fun. It might be a little impractical in the plot terms, but it's still
It's
fun.
not
And
a
you're
movie
having a good
that's
time.
winning no awards.
Yeah, might have an actor that maybe was a big shot, and now is kind of going down a little bit in obscurity, and you're like, holy shit, is that who it is? But you know, you have fun. Also, how fucking dare you? You dropped all these names, but I did not hear
Also,
two horror hosts. Shut up!
Also,
I-
Joe Bob and
There's two horror hosts that like really got me started on my B movie journey. Joe Bob Briggs and Commander USA's Groovy Movies. Oh my god, did I get such an edgy if Commander USA says it's a groovy movie, it's a B movie, and you cannot contradict him in any way. He was USA did a thing, the USA Network did a thing, and he had it on Saturdays, and that's where I got my education on B movies. And yes, I said that on purpose.
Yes, yes. I love my corn-fed girlfriend. She's, it's like I'm a redneck woman. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I mean, you take the Christmas lights down, right, babe? You don't leave them up all year long.
They're so pretty though.
Okay. Right. Moving on to Maddie. Maddie, for you, what do you think is the criteria for a B movie? I know you said it's not your wheelhouse, but what horror movies do you think fit the criteria of B movies, and what do you think should be considered B movies in the horror genre?
Okay, so specifically horror, getting back to the first part of your question, one, I think Jen and Christian did a brilliant job kind of defining it all in like themes, like you could talk about budget, but then it's also like, does it have kind of like a campy vibe or exploitation even? Funny, I remember like Martin Scorsese talking about The Departed. He was shocked it was up for all these awards because he considered it a B movie. It's like even just, I guess, like the themes or writing or whatever. So in terms of horror, see, I get really cagey when someone asks like what's a B movie, because what you're also saying is like someone may consider it an A movie or something, or like is most horror inherently kind of a B movie. But like, hell, I'm wearing a Halloween 3 shirt right now. You could kind of classify that as like a campy B movie, or kind of even like some sci-fi themes in there. For me, a B movie is typically a little bit on the medium to lower budget side, and is just kind of campy and fun. And I'm actually curious what kind of titles everyone here has to bring up and discuss, and see if I have anything to say about it. Like one of my favorite films from kind of the era of what we were talking about is like Carnival of Souls. I think that's an amazing film. And yeah, that's a B movie. It was made on like a shoestring budget, and yet I think there's some like real artistic merit to the movie as well. So I'm excited to see what everyone has to say.
Yeah,
Cool
dude.
beans. Before I move on to Ethel, just some things in the chat. Strange Monkey says hello. Awesome channel, awesome dude. Make sure you check out Strange Monkey. Wabanashi says, I need to learn who this Commander USA is.
YouTube. Go to YouTube and just type in Commander USA Groovy Movies, and oh my god, you're in for like, maybe it's on nostalgia.
It's definitely a nostalgia.
But it's cool.
Like it's campy fun. If you like if you want to see like Elvira, but like
Lower res Elvira.
But like instead of Elvira, it's presented by like your Uncle Dennis, who's like kind of an alcoholic, but he's a guy at the end of the day, and going through a few issues.
Yeah.
That's kind of the kind of thing you're looking at there.
It's a vibe. He's a vibe.
And let's see. I can't wait to see if y'all have seen the B movie I'm going to mention. Question. Commander USA, was that a regional thing, Jen? Was that because I know certain kind of horror hosts were for certain regions, like, or was
No.
he?
he was just, if you happen to have the USA Network back in the 80s, and they still replayed him in the 90s, he was on Saturdays mostly. They played him on Sundays, and he just showed, like, you know, your lower rent movies. But some of these movies, like, this is one of the things that got me on my path with my love of horror and just kind of the obscure and the crazy. One of the movies I'm going to bring up is a movie I learned from him, a Polish
vampire
in Burbank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as B movie as you can get.
A Polish vampire in Burbank.
It's a classic, Marty.
It's a fucking
classic.
Yeah, it is. And I would have never known something like this because I was like a little kid, 4 years old, and I watched it religiously. But he also started to show horror and stuff, and it just was fun, and it was a vibe. And I'm like, I dig this. I want to be this person. You know what I mean? I just kind of dug the vibe, even as a little kid. He was different.
I'm definitely going to go on to someone who knows their stuff when it comes to B movies, especially old school B movies and public domain movies. Ethel, what do you think fits the criteria, or what needs to tick the boxes to be a B movie or a great B movie in your opinion?
Well, I think the first thing you need is an air of cheapness. Like, you have to be able to look at it and say, wow, they didn't have any money at all. Like, what do they even do? And then you need like an overly thought out concept or a really simple concept that has no time put into it.
Okay.
And easiest special effects. The cheesier, the better. That's kind of the makings of B movie.
What do you think, for you, what's quintessential B movie that you think people need to check out, that more people haven't checked out or more people haven't seen?
Well, I was happy to hear about Carnival of Souls, but everybody seems to know about that. I can't mention Mole People because that's already infamous. You know, Planet of Prehistoric Women is fun.
Yeah.
Was that Russian? Was that a Russian movie that was redubbed, right? You were telling me about that.
Yeah, and they used bits and pieces of it in another movie called The Planet of Prehistoric Women. It's Voyage to the Planet of the Prehistoric Women. That was the original movie, which was a Russian movie, and then there were bits and pieces of it later used in another film, I think, which was just Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet, which is a different movie altogether. Complicated.
I meant to ask you, did they use stop motion for that movie, or did they do the tried and tested Slurposaurus thing where they got actual lizards and glued fucking weird prosthesis to them? Or was it even cheaper than that? Was it just kind of guys in suits?
It was really cheap. Like, there was a pterodactyl in the movie, but it doesn't move, like it's a puppet on a wire.
Ah, okay. So
it's got a robot. Yeah, and it's got a robot that almost drowns a guy to death when he's got his astronaut helmet on, because like pouring water in his mouth and like shoving pills in his mouth, and then he grabs some other guy by the nuts.
Jesus, fucking robots, man, they're dangerous. I think for me, when I think of B movies, Ed Wood comes to mind. Particularly, I love that. I know we're deviating, but I love the fact again that he got Bela Lugosi in his last days to star in one of his movies. And again, I'm deviating, but the line, pull the string. I love that. But yeah, Jen, Christian, some titles you think people need to check out when it comes to B movies?
Oh, shit. I mean, the list could go on and on. I guess one thing I want to start out with something that you've said, and because I think it would be a very interesting dialogue.
Okay, you're doing that already.
Yeah, I think I'm going to Christian, and I never thought about it. Christian always has this theory. There is this movie is an Oscar movie, but he has always said that this Oscar-winning movie, and it's one of the few horror movies that you can some people classify it as horror. You can even argue on that, but there is an Oscar movie that Christian says is a B movie with just an A cast, and that is The Silence of the Lambs. And I'd love to hear everyone's thought. Would that be considered a B movie? Because I never thought about it, but when Christian talked,
the plot and everything is basically just a 70s exploitation film, but it just so happens to have Oscar and award-winning level caliber actors instead of like Joe Schmo or like Joe Esposito or some people, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with you. But would that be considered like, because you're right, if your story's a B movie story, but you have actors that are elevating it, isn't an actual B movie? Where does the line blur?
I've never thought about it like that, but Christian has a point. Essentially, it's essentially Maniac with some furniture polish on it. That's essentially.
I would say Maniac is better. I would say Maniac is like, people might kill me for that, but I love Maniac more. I just
what would kind of give Maniac the edge for you over Silence of the Lambs?
This is going to sound really stupid, guys, but like for me, Maniac, there is an authenticness. There's a sleazy griminess that's just like, whoa. When I saw Maniac for the first time, I was a little kid, but I was blown away by Maniac. And I also like the story. And there's just something that's a little bit, it's more dirty, but it works on the horror level, at least for me. I like Silence of the Lambs. I think it's Thomas Harris is like a favorite author of mine. I've read all the books. I love it. But for me, I just give me Silence of the Lambs or give me Maniac. I'll pick Maniac every time, if I'm being completely honest. And I'm not shitting on anyone who loves Silence of the Lambs. It's just for me personally, like, to me, Maniac is like a fucking golden standard in horror for me. But that's just my own personal opinion.
Okay.
What the fuck do I know?
No, you know a lot. You know a lot when it comes to the horror genre. Christian isn't there, but I was going to ask him Kristen, what's the tipping point for you that makes you think? What's the moment in Silence of the Lambs that makes you go?
It's no moment in particularly. It's just the whole story of that film is very much like a 70s grindhouse cop movie. You had hundreds of these, a lot of them starring like the likes of Charles Bronson and the like. But you had a lot of these. Cannon made a shit ton of films like this of badass cop or blank cop hunting after crazy serial killer. And to hell, to lean into it even more, the homophobic elements and transphobic elements of Silence of the Lambs even play into it, because that was a major trope of a lot of those types of films of the 70s exploitation genre, of just being like, okay, what's wrong with this person? Why are they going around killing? Oh, because they're some form of queer. Because we have to be afraid of those.
Yeah, that's a trope I'm kind of glad that died off. Well, I like to think it's died off. Like,
it's gotten better.
Also, hello to Trench, Solus Trench Coat. Trenchy's in the chat there. Wabanashi says, makes me think of how I love weird Japanese horror, and they do very B movie. Yeah, Battle Royale. Battle Royale's a B movie. If anyone says, what you mean the Japanese version of the Hunger Games, I really lost it with someone. And I was like, oh my god. Did you see the Japanese? You fucking ignorant. Fuck, that movie came out. Anyway, let's see. Ben Grimm says, I think Charles Band and Full Moon movies like Head of the Family or Ginger. Oh, don't worry, Ben. I know Jen is gonna fucking absolutely go buck wild about Full Moon, and when she gets a chance. Maddie, is there any title that you think is for you another kind of quintessential B movie that actually tries to pass itself off as a quote unquote legitimate or art house movie, that you're like, this is a B movie to its core? Or am I putting you on the spot? Do you want me to?
A little bit, because I actually wanted to. It's kind of going to derail the conversation, but I wanted to talk about Maniac for one moment.
Go first, yeah.
Go for it.
One, I actually haven't brought myself to watch the remake yet, even though I've heard it's quite good because of how upsetting it is. And I didn't really approach Maniac until it was streaming a lot on Shudder. And I said, okay, I'm finally going to watch this. And I agree with Jen. One, I think it's kind of brilliant in how blunt it is, but then it can kind of get a little surreal with the whole mannequins coming alive and thing. So again, that you could classify that as like a B film, but then William Lustig also made Maniac Cop,
Yeah.
And that's a B movie as well. And like you even got Bruce Campbell in there and stuff. But as far as your question, basically like a great film masquerading, that'd be Alien, right? I
Yeah.
think Alien
Absolutely.
that's an A+ film. That it's a B movie that's masquerading as an A+ film. And going back to what Ethel was saying, of where like a low budget, like bad effects, like constitutes, I think that is kind of the dividing line, because they pumped a lot of money into Alien, and they got one of the most talented directors in the world with a big studio, and it's kind of elevating this this B movie into what's essentially a work of art.
Yeah,
oh, sorry, Ethel, go on.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's an A movie with it's a B movie with an A budget. Almost got that backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And like its DNA is very much B movie. I mean, the influences on O'Bannon and the story in the script is one of them is space vampires, terror from beyond space. There's a whole back catalog of 50s B sci-fi that essentially is the, dare I say, foundation or springboard for that movie. So it is yeah, it takes trope-esque elements from 50s sci-fi, like the crew that are like, they land on a planet, they don't know what the deal is. The creature gets on board and systematically stalks them one by one. When we think of that, we automatically think of Alien as the kind of the trendsetter for that. But no, that's stuff that happened in B movies in the 50s, way back. Yeah, Maddie, you hit the nail on the head. Alien is an A movie with very much B movie sensibilities. Ethel, is there any other sorry, is there any A movie flick that kind of is a B movie that passes itself off as something a bit more classy?
Not off the top of my head, but I don't know. Like you could probably say that for a lot of more modern films where it's just bare bones story, character development, but it looks good. Looks great.
I mean, hell, if you go back to like the likes of the 90s or even further back, the concept of a superhero film was a very B movie, silly, campy idea, and now it's the main genre film that makes the most money in the world. You know, it's what
Very
cinema
true.
has become. So it just kind of shifted over time.
One of my favorite B movies is John Glickenhaus's The Exterminator. When people ask me what The Exterminator is, I tell them it's the best Punisher movie never made. This was something that was essentially it's essentially the Punisher. It's you have a Vietnam vet returning home to the States. His friend is killed, and he decides to use his skill to clean up the streets. And you have Robert Ginty, not the most dynamic actor on the planet, but he does a good job. And setting people on fire, putting them into meat grinders. There's a bit where he finds that there's like a chicken house, a cat house for children. He goes in there and he goes in there with a 357 that has mercury tipped bullets and fucking shoots one guy in the groin. And then it turns out the guy's a senator. And then, to make matters worse, the police start to like him, but the government starts to think, oh, he's some kind of communist who's trying to destabilize the American government and make the police force look bad. And it's just, it kind of spirals out of something. Have you seen that one, Christian?
I have. I really liked The Exterminator. Also, you just made me realize that movie predicted the entire future of what would happen with the character of the Punisher over the last 30 years or so.
Yeah, again, it's the best Punisher movie
I've
never made
until now. But yeah, that movie kind of predicted everything that's happened with the Punisher up until now. Also, Ben, I love you. Rotor is peak cinema, one of the all-time greatest.
Yes, Rotor.
Fucking love Rotor.
Sorry guys, I'm just answering some stuff in a private chat.
You're good.
Ethel, is there any movie at all that you're like, this movie is this movie got a cinema release? I enjoyed the movie, but it got a cinema release, and this is the plot. Was there anything left you scratching your head, going, "What the fuck? This should be on Sci-Fi Channel at 4 o'clock in the morning"?
I mean, well, there's a ton of movies like that. I mean, we start listing that stuff off. Basically, most modern stuff I've seen lately has just kind of been like that. But I don't know, like more specifically, I don't know. Like I don't know even where to start with that.
Like the Meg. The Meg is a bad Sci-Fi Channel movie that somehow got a fucking cinema release. It's Jason Statham versus a prehistoric shark. If that doesn't say B movie, exactly, Ben. There's another prime example. Eight-Legged Freaks.
Oh yeah, Eight-Legged Freaks, and what the hell was that other one with the tentacles? Oh, damn it!
Oh, Grabbers. The Irish one.
No. Well, that was did that get a full cinematic release?
Oh, no, that was not in America.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
I was thinking of The Sand.
Eight-Legged Freaks is just a classic. Omnivore Macarade. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it. Often A movie horrors are just B movies which performed well and became something more. Just look at the first movie of the most big horror franchises. Yeah, Halloween. Would you consider Halloween the first one as a B movie?
Yes, I would, and John Carpenter's with me.
John Carpenter hates Halloween.
I know, it's another thing we bond over. Yeah, no, I absolutely would say Halloween 1 is a B movie. Friday 1's a B movie. Hell, as much as I love and adore it, the original Texas Chainsaw is a B movie. That is, if you boil that down to its bare necessities, that's the story of a bunch of hippies going to a farm and getting attacked by cannibals. Like, that's a very silly B movie plot, but it works so well due to Cooper's direction and everything else going on in that film.
Oh yeah, The Blob. Well, the original Blob, fucking hell. The Blob, fucking...
The oldest teenager in the world.
Yes, he was. It's like, you're not fooling anyone. I mean, you broke out of a POW camp, you fucker.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty old teenagers. God, I was watching something the other night, and he was sitting there, and I was like, dude, you're like 43. Like, and you're like playing like, it was either like high school or like freshman college. And it's like, nah. But yes, Steve McQueen, yeah. Not really passable.
I love the remake of The Blob, actually. That's pretty fucking cool. That's an awesome one.
That's a good movie.
I think it actually improves upon the original in a lot of ways. But then again, that's not hard. I didn't care much for the sequel directed by J.R. Ewing, but what can you do with that? Let's see. Let's have a look at the comments there. Trenchy says Piranaconda is awesome. You got to check that out. Ben Grimm says take David Arquette out of Eight-Legged Freaks and you have a Sunday movie on Sci-Fi. Let's see. The Matrix is a horrible B movie pretending to be smart. Yeah, I forgot Trenchy hates The Matrix.
Yeah, you do hate The Matrix, Trenchy. That's right.
But yeah, again, I think anything that has a very kind of basic kind of bargain bin plot, but Sadie's laughing her ass off at Trish. It can if it has its roots in very pulpish kind of story. I think that kind of makes it. Any other flicks? Ethel, is there any B movie you think that needs to get more attention? Old, new, 80s, 90s, 70s?
Well, first spaceship on Venus is pretty good for a B movie.
What's
Nobody
the,
ever talks about that.
what's the plot to it?
Well, they find a signal from Venus, and then they have this spool that they find in the desert, and somehow they remember that. And this is in the story. They're just like, oh, and then somebody remembered, and they're like, they talk about the Tunguska meteor, and they're like, okay, well, let's go investigate this. So they get a high-tech spaceship, and they have like this little cute robot thing that runs around on treads, and they go over to Venus, and they find out that their sewer's backing up. This is just the abridged version of the story, and it's interesting. It's interesting. It's visually, it's very interesting. I don't know. No one ever talks about it.
Cool beans. We just had a new person join us. Maddie, do you want to do introductions?
Yes, this is my dear friend Melanie, and like I was saying, she knows a bit more about B movies than I do, but I overheard while I walked away while she got home was someone was talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's one of your favorite films.
That is very much a personal favorite. Yes, and yeah, grew up watching a lot of like Atomic Age monster movies and all that fun stuff.
Melanie, would you agree with Christian, or do you think it's heresy that Christian said that Texas Chainsaw is essentially a B movie about a bunch of hippies that run afoul cannibals? Do you think that's?
I mean, it means a little. It gets a different synopsis by everyone, but I would not say that's untrue. It's definitely B movie criteria for the most part. It's very like
crazy man chasing.
Yeah, the premise
young
is very
adults.
basic. There's not much going into it that isn't just kind of sourced wherever. It's like pretty low production.
Yeah.
But what a trendsetter it was.
Absolutely, and it leads, due to its nature, it leads to so much you can read into it, and due to the time it came out of during Vietnam, you can really look into a lot of different readings to that movie.
Oh, for sure. I've heard a lot of different interpretations for it. There's even some allegories in there for gender identity and things like that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
there is.
especially with part 3. That really brings it up in part 3. With
Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, he kills the one girl just for the tattoo, or they, I should say.
Yeah. And Viggo Mortensen with his character in part 3 does bring that, and I like that it's very subtle. Like they're not like, is balls to the walls that movie is. It's very subtle, and it's those little touches that make the movie work so well.
Oh, definitely. And the director's cut versus the theatrical is
yes,
definitely...
that poor director.
That poor director.
Jeff Bridges had such a nightmare. It wasn't his fault. He nearly had a nervous breakdown. It's one of my favorite movies, so I know a lot about that movie.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Just going over to chat, Wabi says Venus Needs Plumbers sounds like a lewd film. I can't argue with her there.
Yeah.
Ben,
like I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking.
Everyone knows. Exactly.
Everyone knows what you're thinking, babe.
Is that right? Sorry.
Oh, God help us. Just as well I love you, babe. Ben Grimm says Queen of Blood Space Vampires. I love space movies that came out before we went to space. Retro future styling is immaculate. Me and Wabi says me and Jen are always on the same page here. But yeah, speaking of Ben Grimm, another kind of high budget canon movie. It was one of the most expensive canon movies. Connected to Texas Chainsaw. I love it. Life Force. Life Force is the schlockiest B movie fucking thing ever. You have a naked space vampire girl walking around, sucking people's fucking energy out, turning them into dust zombies. You have Sir Patrick Stewart macking on Steve Railsback.
Yep.
I mean, what more do you want? Like,
Classic.
Yeah.
Truly ahead of its time. Truly.
Naked French vampire girl.
Exactly.
One thing I feel bad for is, though, the American version kind of got the B movie treatment when it was released overseas in Europe. the Henry Mancini score, right? There's a real cheesy score for the American, but then you have the Henry Mancini score, which is this bombastic operatic thing. It's like, it's like, what the fuck? I have the Arrow edition, which has both versions, and it is like night and day. The opening fucking credits. You gotta check it. Christian, what's your thoughts on Life Force? Am I giving it too much?
No,
Am I giving it too much credit?
I don't think so at all. I love Life Force. It is very much a B movie. It's again naked space vampires just hanging out, but it's such a good time, and you can tell like I love that period of Hooper's career where he was working with Cannon because you can just tell he's having so much fun with all three of those movies: Chainsaw 2, Life Force, and Invaders from Mars. You can tell he's just like a little kid just having a blast doing all these crazy wacky effects because Cannon just let him do whatever he wanted as long as it made a profit, and they all did.
And yet,
Yeah,
bullshit with Funhouse.
I think he got a 3-picture deal. Sadie says every time I come on these streams with y'all, I end up adding so many more films to my watch list.
we do
Maddie, guys, what's your thoughts on Toby Hooper's Life Force? Is it a bit too schlocky? Is it a bit too highbrow? Does it not know what it wants to be? What's your thoughts on it?
I kind of love it now. I saw a little bit of it when I was a teenager and was kind of fascinated by it. I think you kind of brought up an interesting point of where it kind of doesn't quite know what it is, but it's like, it's kind of brilliant in the fact that, like, no pun intended, he's kind of shooting for the stars, but his budget's kind of holding him back, and a little bit of the writing and acting's holding him back, but it's kind of a very big movie. It kind of goes places. It goes from like space to London to the countryside and back again, and then it's the apocalypse. Like it's kind of all over the place. But I kind of love it. I've never now you're bringing up the two different versions, and like I've never seen like the director's cut, but I feel like that big bombastic score was in the version I saw, so I don't know what the difference is between the versions.
I do know for the American version they cut down a lot of the nudity. For some reason, the space asparagus was too suggestive, so they cut a lot of that out of the intro. I don't know. They're worried like housewives are gonna fucking go at it with asparagus. I don't fucking know. But
I'm kidding.
Hush.
You know what? I think I may have only seen the long version of the movie then. So
Ethel, sorry, Jesus, sorry, Maddie, I'm too violent. What's your thoughts on the Life Force?
Talking to me?
Oh well, asparagus. Are you talking to me now? Hold on, sorry.
Apologies. Maddie's cohort first, and then Ethel. Sorry, Ethel.
Okay, sorry about that. I got confused. My headphone fell out.
I got confused as well. Apologies. I apologize to both ladies. Sorry about that.
Life Force, I mean, it's one of those films where like everybody is trying their darndest, and like, no matter what part of it I've come in on, or I think I've possibly seen both versions. I've seen it many times over the years. Just like it's got a lot of scope, kind of like Maddie was saying. It's like it bounces around, and it's really fun to go back and appreciate the talent that's actually in it, where you got like Sid Haig and stuff like that in the beginning,
and Patrick Stewart,
and
it's like
you gotta love like the kind of hand animated effects and things like that. So it's kind of just, I don't know, it's very indicative of its time, and
they're like space bats. They're like
that's
giant bats, like in animation.
That was Maddie. That was John Dykstra. He had fucking worked on Empire. He'd worked on Empire and Jedi before he done this fucking movie. This is the guy who worked on fucking Yoda, working on it's like what the fuck. But yeah, it's a cool movie. It does have its shortcomings, but the fact is, it also tries to elevate itself over the material. Ethel, what's your thoughts on Life Force?
Well, first off, asparagus is a very popular side to have with any kind of meal. It's popular. People like it. Sure, it makes your pee smell, but that's not a problem. Life Force, however, is a great movie. I love Life Force. The animatronics in Life Force, I remember the first time I saw it, I had it on VHS, still have it. And I was amazed. I really didn't expect that level. Like, they show you the corpse, which has been drained of all its fluid, of its life force. And you think it's just going to be this static corpse. And all of a sudden it comes to life and it starts moving around and opening its mouth. Like, that was stupendous.
It kicked ass. I love the puppetry, and again, you had your man Dykstra working on that. It was fucking class. It was a class movie.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it gets enough credit for being a good movie. Like, sure, it might be kind of a B movie. I mean, it's got, like, for the special effects, I wouldn't really consider that B movie. But for some of the acting and some of the story choices, yeah, it does kind of tread on B movie territory.
Cool beans. Has anyone any other contenders they want to put forward for favorite B movies?
I don't know. Christian, you're gonna have to help me with this one because I don't know if it would be considered a B movie, but Nobody But Us, like we reviewed it, and you're gonna know what it is. The adaptation of the great Edward Lee Header.
I wouldn't classify that as a B movie.
I would.
I wouldn't classify it. It's just low budget, like micro budget.
But I mean, the story is it's very trashy. It's very exploitative. It's a hard one to find, but if you find it, I'm a big fan of Jack Ketchum, who collaborated a lot with Edward Lee, and they kind of did the same thing. A lot of their stories are B movie plots, and they turned this movie in. And basically, what it is, you're doing with hill people and the revenge. And if your neighbor wrongs you, they'll kidnap whoever wrongs you, their kinfolk, and do a header. And there's this great scene with a grandpa, like this one guy gets out of prison and he helps his grandpa. I just saw Marty Smith.
I'm after remembering the fucking movie. Well, just do it. Just pull it off like a band. Also, just to our new guests. God damn it. Go for it, Tim.
So basically, like, and there's this great monologue where, like he goes, "You header," and he basically, you ejaculate in a dead person's head, hence the name header and stuff. And it's funny because, and then like the grandpa's so old he can't do it anymore. So in a loving gesture, his grandson holds him up while he does a header in somebody's head. And it goes a little off the rails from there, but it's a great movie.
It wasn't there.
I'm not doing it justice, but like anybody, like I strongly recommend, if you like the dark and sick and really fucked up stuff, Edward Lee is a great author to go. And actually Edward Lee and Jack Ketchum do little cameos in this movie. It's a very low budget movie. We found it at a thrift store and I was so happy. I told Christian, oh my God, this is amazing. But there is this wonderful monologue where, like, Grandpa, I'm not gonna let you deny yourself the pleasures of this. And he just jacks off into a head. I love it. I love it. Marty knows how much I love it.
I've heard of this film. I've never actually seen it.
It's great. Some people might think it's going a little too far. I can totally understand that. But as Marty knows, anyone who knows me, I love as fucked up and as sleazy as we can go. I'm here for it. That's my bag.
Jen considers High Tension a romantic comedy. Just for
I love High Tension. Would High Tension be considered a B movie, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite films. I love it.
It definitely goes into the exploitation bracket.
Why do I know the exact moment from High Tension? Because when she was talking about what was happening in that movie about coming in someone's head, I was immediately went to High Tension, and I'm like, that's where I went, and I guarantee you that's free. That's why you thought of it. Cool.
I love High Tension. There's so many great scenes, and again, but I think it's a really tightly shot. Like you can talk about the ending, how controversial it is, and some people think it's stupid. And you gotta admit, like the car chase scene, if you break it down, it really she basically has to get out of each car, you know. But in the head, it looks cool. But I love that movie. I do. But it's very masterfully done if you don't poke at it too hard.
Another idea.
I love it.
Star Crash is another fun B movie.
Oh yeah,
I like that one a lot.
Star Crash with the Hoff and
Yes.
and the oh Christ, I'm after forgetting her name. She was absolutely fucking drop dead gorgeous back in the day. Trying to think of her name. Christ, help me out here. Crap.
Did Monroe? Is that who?
Yeah, Caroline Munro. Caroline Munro. Thanks, Maddie. Yeah. That movie was brilliant. That movie was like, hey, we can do Star Wars too.
right.
And have Jeffrey Rush is in that. And is Jack Palance is in another one. There's another movie where Jack Palance gets hit by some of the set while the ship is shaking. Trying to fucking think.
Stars. I think that's Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah.
It's Battle Beyond the Stars. Oh, I'd also put Space Odyssey up there. That's another Star Wars wannabe. It's got the robot ducks. If you remember, I did a watch along of this a while back. Space Odyssey, Italian movie,
Classic.
trying to be Star Wars.
Guys,
They had the cardboard swords for lightsabers. It was great.
Jesus fucking cardboard swords.
Well, they painted them with this paint, so like you put the light on, they look like they're glowing, but you could clearly tell it's just cardboard swords.
Any other favorite canon B movie that you guys have that isn't exclusively sci-fi? Oh, here's a hard one. It can't be sci-fi or it can't be horror. Any other canon B movie that you enjoy?
Is the film that you that's kind of hard.
That's tough.
Chuck Norris film that you got, was that canon?
Oh, you're talking about Silent Rage?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with the unkillable killer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the production company was on that one.
I don't believe that was canon.
No, I know it's not canon, but I don't remember what it is.
It's still Chuck Norris, and he made quite a canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got like Death Wish films, like Death Wish 3 is canon, and it's like that's like anarchy.
The third one,
Can't be horror.
what was it? Fucking Death Wish 3. The Strike Back or something. Maria Sirtis is brutally gang assaulted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her arm is broken. And while she's in hospital, the doctor comes out and she died from a broken fucking arm.
Yes.
And meanwhile, fucking Charles Bronson is mowing down gang members. What social group are they from? All of them. It's the most multicultural gang I've ever seen. Yeah, I love the Death Wish movies. I love Chuck Norris's. I love Invasion USA. Fucking Richard Lynch. Fucking blowing up houses on Christmas Eve with a bazooka. Has anyone else seen Invasion USA?
Yes, I have seen it. Yeah,
It's shit. It's absolutely shit, but I love it. It's like, for some reason, Chuck Norris knows where the terrorists are going to be. He just turns up. Yep. Terrorists are about to blow up an orphanage. He comes up in his Ford driving, shooting Uzis. Sorry, Maddie. But yeah, it's fun.
Did you find something?
Oh, I just remember I was really into King Solomon's Mines when I was pretty young.
The terrible Richard Chamberlain, Indiana Jones
pretty terrible, but awesome. And then, and who can forget Masters of the Universe?
Of
Masters
course.
Of the Universe. Yeah, classic.
So, I mean, there's definitely a lot in their catalog that's, yeah.
What's
yeah. I mean,
Which? Jen?
Christian said it wasn't.
I
so-
would say no. That's a pretty high profile movie.
I would say
What?
sudden. Would Sudden Impact be the Clint Eastwood movie? Would that be like more like a Silence of the Lambs? Because really, when you look at it, it's a pretty B movie.
I mean, it's a rape revenge film at the end of the day, but
Yeah, well, those are.
yeah.
But I kind of wondered if that would be considered a B movie.
Funny thing, Sudden Impact was actually filmed in our city.
Really?
neat.
Yeah,
Right.
so since I just moved here, I'm looking. Lost Boys and Killer Clowns from Outer Space was also shot here, and
Nice.
so I'm pretty excited to watch that. And basically,
Yeah, we got a few things. Even the Tripper that was done by David Arquette was up in the mountains. here.
that's true. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one with the Ronald Reagan serial?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's the one.
I remember watching that movie on Sci-Fi, and I was just in stitches when Thomas Jane just says, "Look, we got a problem. It's Reagan." It's like, fucking
Yeah.
hell, Thomas Jane.
Jane.
Pretty silly, but pretty awesome.
We were also.
Um,
I really don't want to take over here too, but it was I remember which film. I didn't get to finish it. I really liked it though. Neon Maniacs.
Oh,
I
Yes.
started watching that the other night. What I saw of it, I really liked it. That had the 45-year-old like high schooler in it. But anyway,
It does. That's right.
You've talked about that too.
Yeah, it does.
I really liked what I've seen of it so far, but what we watched before that was Bats with Lou Diamond Phillips, and that's
Oh God, bats.
It was based on a novel. Who did it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. There we go.
Or that
You-
way.
Our copy
you won't-
is sitting in this pile of air somewhere.
You won't believe it till you get it on DVD, but it has a commentary.
Yes,
Ugh.
it is.
It does.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it's actually a kind of fun commentary track, actually.
Everything
I
you
know.
never knew you wanted to know about bats.
Yeah, I think I've
Who,
only
who
watched
does the
first half.
commentary? The director, Ethel?
Director and
Is it Lou Diamond
I
Phillips?
almost want to say Phillips is a part of it. I might be wrong, but I know the director's on it.
If I remember right, I think it is Phillips. I don't have the DVD in front of me to jog my memory, but
Lou Diamond Phillips didn't direct it, but it was Louis Monroe directed it.
Yeah.
And that's the R-rated. We watched the PG-13 version streaming, but that's the R-rated cut. I still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the R-rated cut either, actually. I didn't know there was one.
Mhm.
And I mean, Lou Diamond Phillips is just a good sport with anything he happens to be in.
Very
Mhm.
true.
Good actor. Real good
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah, definitely. He's gone every direction with it.
Yeah.
His episode of Psych was really good.
Mhm. Everything.
Wobby brings up as the ladies were mentioning, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the Kyoto
It
brother.
used to mess with her as a kid.
Oh really? Some people, yeah, it takes that fear of clowns and just takes it to the next level. I actually sometimes like just when I get bored, we'll drive around and visit some of the filming locations for it because it was filmed all over the county here. And
Are you going to do a video of just like showcasing some of the locations and sets?
we definitely talked about it a little bit.
You actually took me to the gazebo where you said the puppet show was
Yeah,
filmed in, so I saw that recently.
Yeah, that's a great spot that I always feel compelled to visit because it's actually been closed. Like you can't go onto the gazebo, and we're probably one more little earthquake away from it getting bulldozed or something. So, but yeah, the
Wait,
classic little puppet show scene, that gazebo is still in the center of Watsonville.
That's still
50
there after all these years without being like molested or destroyed.
Yeah, and it's a very neat old gazebo with a lot of detail to it. Yeah, and then as well as like the Pogonip Country Club that was used as Grandpa's house in the Lost Boys. It's boarded up, but you can still hike up to it and visit it. And like stand in the spot where you actually can see the camera pan across the whole town onto the road as they approach the house and stuff. It's really cool.
Ye absolutely have to do a video just kind of showcasing these places, because that
Oh,
that
love-
I for one would definitely check it out, and I know there's other people
Yeah.
who'd love to check it out.
we'll get on that.
That'd be very cool.
Trying to think. Oh, actually, John, I'll jump into the chat. I don't want people to think I'm ignoring them. Hello, Deacon. Deacon says hello. Trenchy says, ladies, that's awesome. Those locations are cool. Wabi says, you should have gone in. Oh my God, my ass would be trespassing for sure if I could. Boards be damned. Go in. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm probably waffling and stuff. Jen, is there anything you think I've left out, or anything, any movies you think I want to bring up? Particularly movies that don't require people to ejaculate into people's skulls. Just
No, it's a movie that you, and I'm going to let you take it over, because we talked about it for Trash Fire, and we got weirdly, like, we were both shocked at how analytical we got. The pony busted through the zipper, Marty. The pony busting through the zipper. His
Wow.
pony.
Christian, got any booze left, man?
No, all mine. We don't get any.
Come on, Marty. Tell him.
Okay, so Debbie Harry plays a sex phone
From
worker
Blondie.
who's stalked by a serial killer, and yeah.
And she gets a call from a Texan. And
What?
he calls her a good girl.
Okay. Bit of
What's the
perspective.
name of
right?
this film again? Because I saw you mention it the other night.
Marty, God, what is it? I always forget.
I'll go back and check. I'll go
Sorry.
back. Was it on your channel or my channel? We discussed it.
God dang it, Marty. I think it was on mine, but I don't remember. Like, my brain is completely fried, which probably is no surprise to anybody here. But it's a fun, like, Debbie, just the fact that Debbie Harry of Blondie is doing, and it's interesting.
Yeah, that's one word for it, all right, babe.
And
That's
there's
one
this
fuck-
wonderful scene, and like and like a cop, and he's like a renegade cop, and he's like gonna help her catch this guy, and he has to sit and listen to her.
Intimate stranger.
Intimate
Yeah, that cop pissed me off. That cop pissed me off so fucking much. It's like, yeah, he was a beat cop, and he's like, I'm going to do this sin operation. You haven't gotten clearance to take out this house. You haven't. You're deciding to take it upon yourself to be her bodyguard. You've no plainclothes officers. She dies multiple times because Captain fucking Have-A-Go was like, I got this. Fucking shite. I'm sorry.
But darling, but he's having to listen to her. And like, didn't you think like he was getting hard listening to her talking to the Texan? Like, or was that just a subtext I got?
Jesus Christ.
And like pony, the guy. I love this part. Like, this is my favorite part of the movie. Where
This
like
is the part. Hold on, but bit of context. This is what made Jen decide she wanted to review this movie. Go ahead, Jen. Tell the wonderful people.
So Debbie Harry of Blondie has to do her phone sex work, and like this Texan is not the killer or anything, but you know we need to pad this movie out. And so he calls, and like it is a Texas accent, but it's like by way of a California doing an impersonation of a Texas accent. And he's like, my pony's just busting through this zipper, and you're such a good little girl. And he means it kind of, and like a schoolgirl. He's telling her, I want you to put on that naughty little schoolgirl outfit. And it's funny, but it's also charming and also uncomfortable, and it really takes you back to the 90s, because I don't think they could get away with this movie back today. I'd be here for it, but other people would be like, oh my God. But like, it's a fantasy, people, so like he wants to screw a schoolgirl. I mean, you know, most guys have been there.
So, fuck it. We've already crossed the line. Do you want to ask our new guests the thoughts on the whimsical goings on of teenagers from sleepaway camp? And do you remember we had go I know
Okay.
she always wants to do this.
Marty, like, and I have a thing. Like, we're 80s children. Like, we're children of the 80s and stuff. And like, Marty takes a different. And Ethel's with me, like, because we had the stream. And like, we thought, I think it's whimsical because in Sleepaway Camp Part 2, there is a scene where the guys come in and it's a panty raid, and it's real sweet, and they're taking their bras and panties and stuff, and like all the, just kooky and fun and a rite of passage. And Marty's like horrified, and he's like, "No, Jen, it's wrong." What she says to me. But I think it's whimsical and like it's a rite of passage. Like all boys have to steal girls' panties, right?
Are you actually asking me
Yes,
what I
yes,
think of
she is.
the
She is.
entire concept of the panty raid?
Yeah, it was a thing.
Okay, apparently it was, and I'm assuming it wasn't just in film. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
you went to camp. I never went to camp.
Yeah, I mean, I never experienced one, but I definitely have heard tale, and I mean, like, I think probably my first experience of the concept was probably Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, they did.
Which is like the all-time most brutal, probably definitely not okay by today's standards. Right?
Yeah, I'd feel a little violated if someone came in and stole my underwear, but
Well, I mean,
I understand in terms of when it was culturally, even its portrayal in cinema.
No,
Yeah.
Maddie. Jen thinks it's something that still needs to be done today. She thinks it's whimsical. And she thinks it's the highest form of compliment to have a young prepubescent boy steal your delicates. Isn't that right, babe? Isn't that what you think?
All I'm saying, Marty, is if we were teenagers and you stole my panties, I'd think, "Oh, that's so sweet."
If I
You
stole
can't
your
vote
panties,
or get a
I'd-
license until you do it, all right?
There you go.
I would be on a watch list. I would be like that
mean,
fucker's going away at Ted Bundy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the concept of stealing panties, like, yeah, like, I don't know, I was thinking of, like, in mass, like, actually, like, coming in to someone's space. Yeah, I'm sure.
There's some
sure that goes
fucking
on
dude
actually.
bounding down the street, knickers ahoy. Fucking
Yeah, exactly.
Like Sonic with his rings, only panties.
Oh, okay.
So if you like trip and fall when you leave, do you do like ding and like panties fly out of you?
Grab the
Okay,
panty.
and any video game modders out there, can you redo Sonic to be a prepubescent teen
Oh my god.
stealing underwear off a line and fucking I don't know. Dr. Eggman is a social worker trying to stop. Maybe you want to mod a game like that? I don't know.
Fun?
Sonic Panty Raid when?
Exactly. I'd play it. I think it would be weirdly could be sponsored by Victoria's Secrets.
Now, does Tails have like one or two holes? I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
A lost tradition. Jesus Christ.
It bothers you, doesn't it?
I just look, if some young fella stole your fucking underwear, I'd beat him from fucking here to fucking Tipperary. I swear to God, I'd be like, get the fuck out.
You
And
pervert.
knowing you'd be behind me. Oh, leave him be. He's just a youngin'. He's just a youngin'. He just wants to have some fun.
I mean, the video game concept could take it to like some pretty scary levels where like, a high level achievement is like, oh, we've made a doll out of the panties now or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I can. Why are we fucking talking about this? Jen,
Sorry.
I can understand how it can kind of be flattering, but at the same time, I'd be terrified that someone was like breaking into my fucking house, stealing my shit.
No, I mean, as long as, it's a sweet, I mean, I'm sure there's a negative connotation to it as well, but, it can be sweet, right?
There might be a negative connotation.
There might be.
Well, I mean, as long as they don't take your favorite pair, I mean, it's not that bad.
That's
And you can
also
always get them back.
a thing. I would be pissed if someone took like my best pair. I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, they are kind of expensive. They can be expensive, but still. But then maybe you could like have a drawer. Like maybe it should be a universal thing. Like this drawer, it's okay to take. Don't take from my good drawer. Just take from these.
You gotta lock up your best lingerie sets. Just what you gotta do. Keep them under lock and key.
What fucking neighborhood are you ladies planning on moving to? I mean, what the fuck?
Panty Heights.
Yeah.
Um,
what did Dana Carvey say in the first World? It's like a new pair of underwear. At first, it's constrictive, but then it becomes a part of you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, someone takes that away from you. I mean, what have you got?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Wabi says, Jen, you got a GTA, steal a pair of Marty's undies when you see him. I expect that anyway. I just like fucking. I don't know, like, where's my fucking why is my boxer drawer fucking empty? And it's like Jen's just rolling around in bed, just like wee. Deacon says, Nick those knickers. That should be the name of the game. Omnivore says, I don't care what clothes you steal from me. I'd still be pissed someone is stealing my stuff. Yeah, I'd be the same. Let's see. If Bobby says, if you steal my panties, I'm going to make you wear them. Omnivore says, deal, Wobbs. Yeah. Wobby says Jen would be like Scrooge McDuck in undies. So I think we've deviated from the main topic here. If we can get back on track, Ethel, is there any 1980s B movies that you think people are kind of don't see as a B movie that they need to check out, that they don't that doesn't get enough attention?
Well, wait, is Planet Terror 80s or is that 1970s? Because I can never remember.
Planet Terror, the one with you mean the Robert Rodriguez nod to fucking
No, the other one.
Oh, Planet Terror. I think that's 80s. That's 1980s. That's the
yeah. So
one.
Gotta go with Corman.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Oh
yeah. That's the one with Sid Haig and Joni from Happy Days getting constricted to death, and a woman getting SA by a giant maggot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That film.
And also, even though it's 1990s, but it's also Corman, no one ever talks about it, but Haunting of Morella is pretty good.
I've never seen that one. What's it about?
Oh, it's cool. It's about a witch that gets tortured and murdered and then tries to take over the body of another woman. And then there's like this whole lesbian angle to it. It's an interesting film, to say the least.
Okay.
I don't want to give away too much.
Any notable actor or scene or anything that would kind of jog memories of people, or?
Well, if I remember right, I believe it opens up with Morella on a not on a like Christian cross, but like on one of those like X crosses, like a bondage cross, and they're like burning her to death and like poking her with like rods and shit.
Okay.
A St. Andrews.
Be right back, ladies. I just need to sort something out.
Yeah. Oh, and there was this other cool scene where like they had an actress and she had to pretend to be dead and they buried her in like a pile of leaves. And behind the scenes, like she had to stay in this pile of leaves for like 3 hours and not move, which is ridiculous because I guess it was like November. So it was really cold.
That is, and you said this is from the 90s?
Yeah, I think it's 94 or 93.
I'm going to look into this. That sounds kind of interesting. What, like, speaking about B movies that maybe have a little bit more of like an artistic bent, but like someone brought up, what was it, like Queen of Blood or something, but like Mario Bava, like Planet of the Vampires, even like Black Sunday, all that. Like when you were talking about that Corman film and like a girl being on a cross here, I was just thinking of like Barbara Steele, like being like having that mask put on her at the beginning of Black Sunday. And I don't know, I feel like there's like a lot of themes of like witchcraft or bondage and torture and stuff in a lot of these B movies, exploitation movies. I don't know where I'm going with this thought. I mean,
you're wrong. They're attention grabbing, and they're more like different ways to get into your head.
It was more of an excuse to bring up Mario Bava, but yeah.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it's a.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like that's the thing about like people kind of, when you say B movies, some people might wrinkle up their noses, but these are like movies sometimes of people's first experiences with like talking about somewhat, not so much now, but back when I was growing up, taboo subjects and stuff, and like they can get away with it a little bit more than your highbrow stuff. And I think that's why some people hold these so near and dear to their hearts, because they can talk about stuff that main stuff go, whoa, we're not touching this. This isn't, this isn't going to get the, most of the mainstream masses into the seats. And I think that's why you get a cult following and why people love them so much. So I don't think B movies is necessarily a bad thing. Yes, they're camping, they're fun, but they can occasionally get some messages through that maybe your mainstreams can't.
There's a lot of B movies I've enjoyed more than like big budget Hollywood blockbusters, like they're simple films.
Yeah. Sometimes they're simple. Sometimes they're pretending to be simple, but if you look underneath and kind of dissect them, they can be a little deeper than you think. Sometimes, not all. Yeah, not all of them, but sometimes.
Well, they have some sort of high concept that they can't really express completely, like Carnival of Souls.
Yes, exactly.
But like if you watch it all the way through, you kind of get it. But it's like if they can't really, if done later, maybe they could have got it through a little bit better. But I mean, it still works.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Sadie, I think Black Dynamite is kind of lampooning B movies, particularly blaxploitation, and 70s grindhouse. But yeah, it could classify. There's a lot of B movies that feel like they're just a lot more love put into them. Yeah. Again, some movies can have a lot more depth than one might think. Again, The Exterminator, it's a revenge movie. It's an action revenge movie, but it studies things like PTSD and poverty, and like how quickly people can be pushed to the side and forgotten. I think that's something that it explores.
That's a film about like a Vietnam veteran, right? Who,
yeah.
Like, comes back. It seems like a lot of films of that era, especially like genre films, made like that's their their primary character.
Yeah, but Maddie, I kind of refer to The Exterminator as the best Punisher movie never made. But you do bring up a good point. If that is the case, then does the likes of Taxi Driver fall into that criteria? Because then you have you've obviously Exterminator, and what's the other one? Combat Shock. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Combat Shock, but that's it's
I have heard of it.
It's essentially it's essentially a trauma version of Taxi Driver. Where it's a mix of Taxi Driver and Eraserhead. This guy comes back from Vietnam, lives with a nagging wife. Because he's exposed to Agent Orange, his child is deformed. He's given a shitty job. He can't hold down a job. He cracks up and he just goes on a fucking killing spree. It's probably the deepest thing I think trauma has ever done. Chopping Mall. Yeah. But yeah, do you think certain movies like with Silence of the Lambs, do you think Taxi Driver kind of goes from B movie to something more art house?
Well,
Yes.
definitely because essentially Taxi Driver isn't even a revenge film, or rather it's not even revenge, it's more like vigilante.
Yeah.
But because that's not the primary focus of the film, it's more of a character study, like a portrait of a man disintegrating. And I feel like because of that, it's more of like a drama than it is just necessarily a vigilante film. It does become that in the last act of the movie, but because it spends so much time focusing on his romantic life and his interactions with people. But I see what you're saying here, and there's also that very like gritty griminess of 70s New York there, which we've seen in so many, like B movies or grindhouse movies, even like a Basket Case. You see it a lot. Just like any of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
New York
like
cinema.
that was Abel Ferreira's bread and butter. I mean, you look at fucking Driller Killer and Miss
Yeah.
45. Like New York was a character in
Yeah,
Miss
that's
45. Yeah, really dig Miss 45 too. That slow motion nun shootout at the I don't want to spoil anything, but that's worth it alone.
Um,
Yeah. I had the same comment as like, yeah, when the city takes on being a character, essentially, it's in that right zone where it's like, you're sourcing your location well.
Mm-hmm.
Ethel, what do you think? Do you think that that B movies can say something more than just kind of be kind of exploitative, kind of schlock movies? And is there any example that you'd kind of cite as a B movie that has something to say? Oh, I think Ethel might have issues with her audio.
Oh.
I'll jump up to Jen. Jen, do you think is there any B movies for you that have something to say?
Oh
That
yeah.
kind of
There's a lot of like we've already discussed Maniac. I think there's a lot to say, and I think it hits upon mental illness because and the mother issue, because it always starts with the mother, or at least that's the trope of it. A bad mother. Look what they can do to her as a mother of having boys. I can understand that very well. I think there's actually another movie, and it's not talked about, and I don't even know if it would be considered a B movie because it actually surpasses. It's a rape revenge film, and to me, it actually surpasses I Spit on Your Grave. And I love I Spit on Your Grave. And if anyone doesn't know the backstory of I Spit on Your Grave, it's a brilliant movie. And you could say it's a standard classic for rape revenge films. But there is another movie from 1992-93 from the other side of the pond called Red to Kill. And that is very much a B movie, rape revenge standard B movie, but it is so much more. It is the most, I've talked about it with you, Marty. It is one of the most impactful movies. And I would say it even beats out I Spit on Your Grave. And as a victim, there is a scene, like I can say this because it's happened to me. And there's a scene in that movie that makes it so universal because we're following a mentally challenged woman. And like after she gets raped, there is this scene of her cleaning herself. Just she can't get clean. She's sitting there and she's crying and she doesn't quite understand what's happening to her, but she still knows. And it's like, oh my God, this is speaking. Doesn't matter what kind of walk of your life you've been, whether you're a man or woman. If you've been violated, you just want to get clean and you never feel clean. And that scene just transcribes everything. And I'm not doing the scene justice by any means, but that just like I was in tears. And you could say it's a very standard by the book rape revenge movie, but it's so much more. And anybody who has not seen it, I strongly recommend Red to Kill. And that would be considered a B movie to some people, but it's a brilliant film. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but I strongly recommend it.
Okay, definitely check that one out. Ethel, are you back with us?
I believe so. I don't think I'm gonna get kicked off again. It was weird.
No bother. Do you think there's any B movies that have something to say, or with a bit of a deeper meaning?
Well, I mean, I don't know, because like there's a lot of movies, a lot of B movies that try to say something, but like what they're trying to say, like it's not really deep. Like there's this one film called Space Children, where the whole subtext is you need to stop bombing each other with nuclear bombs, and we need to have world peace. So like these brain alien things come down and they take over the children and get the children to use psychotelekinesis and persuasion to sabotage the military operations going on in this military base where they're going to launch this nuclear missile thing. Which is kind of really simple, not deep, but there's a lot of movies that do that.
But it's at least tackling a very important, dangerous, and political issue of nuclear war and just saying something deeper. So I definitely say that something like that is probably trying to say a little bit more than just, aliens and children killing people,
I mean, they might have a better case for like stopping the destruction of humankind if they didn't have like Jackie Coogan in tiny shorts. It's really upsetting. I want to see Uncle Fester's Little Fester. I don't need to see that. It's not.
Yeah.
Dear God.
I mean, get your Addams Family on.
Oh, I mean, Jackie Coogan in shorts is not something I think really anybody thought they would see or wanted to see.
Hey, look, we don't
You
kink
get-
shame here. We don't kink shame here. Okay?
Well, you get to see the
Each their
professor.
own,
You
Uncle
get to see the
French kid.
from Gilligan Island as a child abusing drunk. So there's that.
Jesus, you should have stayed in that island. I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I think we've covered all the basics. Unless I've left. What do you think, Jen? Is there anything that we haven't covered or discussed or?
I'm sure there are, and I'm sure there's, there. And when we get off, there's probably I should have said that differently when we leave the stream. I think probably there'll be a bunch of movies that popped in our head, but like we got a good running start on it. We really did. There's so many, and then it's interesting because people have different ideas of what a B movie is and stuff, and what you classify as a B movie, and I find that fascinating. I really do. But it was a good discussion. It was a very great panel.
Ladies, is there anything you want to finish up? I'm going to give everyone a chance to plug their stuff as well because I know that everyone has their own projects and stuff. But ladies, is there anything ye think that we haven't discussed or covered in regard to B movies?
I'm thinking I keep thinking like Mad Max, Apocalypse, certain things like that we haven't touched on, but.
Yeah, my head's kind of been shuffling around through a lot of stuff, and then it's like I've just watched so much randomness that it's like can't even think of the titles for some movies. But I mean, like getting back to like what you were saying, like in terms of like the messages these things have is like there are a lot of commonalities with them where like cycles of abuse is another really big one. Definitely like respect your elders, things like that, or just throughout these things, and whether or not you're in, the future, the past, or, horror or whatever it happens to be, it's just like, I don't know, that level of sometimes like brutality dwarfs whatever that message kind of is. And it takes a while. And then you have the perspective with time where it's like, one generation may not view it the same way as another. And definitely project more onto it or less.
You're not ready for it, but your kids are going to love it.
There you have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ethel, is there any kind of thing about B movies that you think we missed that you think that we need to mention?
Well, it's maybe nothing specific. It's just, people sort of have this view of B movies that they're just, why bother with them unless you're going to make fun of them? But sometimes just watching them, like, I don't know, it can be fun, even if they're not in that camp realm where they're so bad they're funny. They're just kind of bad. Like I've seen a lot of them, even some of the boring ones still kind of have something to offer. You guys, about the boring ones. I show half of them on the fucking watch along.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
I hate you.
We love your watch alongs, Ethel. Speaking of, I want to do another circuit again. Jen, my queen, my goddess, what is you and Christian have in store for the unsuspecting victims? I mean, audience of Jen's reviews from the grave.
Well, we're gonna actually, and this you already know about this because this you kind of gave me the idea, so I'll give you the credit. But we lost Julian Sands sadly, and we all know him from Warlock, Arachnophobia. For me, Boxing Helena, I fucking love that movie, and I just wanted to do a tribute. So, and we've never talked about it. It's a movie I love, and you could argue if it's horror, but I think it's in the realm. I remember it, and that is so. We're going to do a tribute video reviewing Warlock, which was probably arguably one of his most famous roles. So, yeah, I loved that movie as a kid. So, and we just kind of want to talk about him. And he was a great guy and a great actor, and not as celebrated as much as you should. I feel like more people should be talking about that we lost him.
Yeah, it sucks that like we're losing a bunch of cult actors all of a sudden, like fucking Treat Williams and fucking Ray Stevenson as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, you mentioned
did
Julian.
that just arrive in the mail?
Yeah, I just literally ripped the pouch on that one.
Well,
Yeah, he was great in that too. He was great in Arachnophobia. Most people, if you say the name, that's what they're going to say, Warlock or Arachnophobia.
I personally really enjoy Vibes myself.
Yes. And he was working very, he did a lot of television work, did a lot of movies. Very, very cool dude. And a great actor. Like, he will be missed.
is anything else? Any Tales from the Crypt, or just like just to key you guys in, and Jen said it the other night as well. Jen is looking after her mum, who's in a bit of a bind at the moment. So Jen is.
I didn't put her in that bind. I didn't break her head.
Yeah.
Don't look at me, Judge, please.
But fair play. You're still putting out content though.
We are, but it's trickling down because life is crazy right now, and as you know, my mother has a certain way of doing things, and I'm doing everything she would normally be doing, so it takes up a big chunk of our time. So
cool beans, Maddie. You and your companion here. What is your plans? Have you any videos or anything in the pipeline you want to plug or promote, or anything that you want people to check out?
I've been saying I was gonna finish a video for like a week now, but I just had a birthday, and I kind of filmed like a birthday haul thing. Everything I got's kind of generally movie related. So I'm gonna finish editing that and get that up. And then the other day, we also saw Jaws on an IMAX dome. And so we're probably gonna film and do a review for the Jaws franchise, as well as a bonus. Last night I finally saw Studio 666, the Foo Fighters horror movie. So that's kind of a fun little a John Carpenter cameo in that as well. So so I'm just gonna finish that video, and then we're probably gonna start a Jaws franchise review series. So hopefully get some more content up and running this week. So
there's no chance you get you try, and as well as doing the reviewing the movies, you try and play the NES game, or have you an emulator to play the NES game?
Oh, for Jaws?
Yeah.
We could do that. We could do that. Didn't you set up for some stuff like the other night? We just got to get the controller up and running, and we can we could play the Jaws. Yeah, I kind of want to play. What is it? Jaws on PS2, where you can play as.
Yeah. That's
like
great. That's a great game. I call it an eat 'em up. I love that game. It's a great game. Fun fact as well. Jaws for the Revenge. Have either of you read the novelization?
No.
Okay,
I know this differs.
How it does. So the novelization gives an origin to why the Brodies are being targeted, because there's a drug ring that that Brody shut down when he was a police officer in I think in New York Cop or something, and the drug ring hired a voodoo priest
Voodoo,
to
yeah.
control the shark to kill the Brodies. So yeah,
Forgot about that. I
Oh
have
my
heard
god,
that.
I gotta read this now.
but yeah, Ethel, what about yourself? Have you anything? When is Trash Fire coming? Or trash? That's my. When is your watch along? When is your watch along coming back? Or are you doing a new format or anything special?
Well, right now, I'm still trying to nail down what the movie's going to be, but I'm looking at potentially not this Friday, but next Friday for a watch along. And I'm still split on what I want to do for Sci-Fi Sunday, but that is definitely coming back. It's just a lot of me procrastinating and dragging my feet when I really shouldn't, but I don't know.
But as they say at the end of the original Thing from Another World, keep watching the skies or YouTube for Ethel's return because it will be triumphant. Before I go, I want to thank everyone who was in the chat, and I'm a dyslexic motherfucker, so apologies. Omnivore Omnivore, thanks for stopping in. Go on, Jen, try and pronounce that, babe.
I can't see, like Marty. You know I need glasses. I can't. I'm. That's why I'm trying to zoom into the screen. Like I don't need glasses, but you know.
Omnivore Mako page. I don't know. Omni, thanks for dropping in. Sadie, Sad Flan, Wabanashi, thanks a million for dropping in. Deacon, thank you for stopping by. The Soulless Trenchcoat, we had Ben Grimm, we had Scott, we had Joy, we had Fun, we had Seasons in the Sun. Who else had we? I think that's it. Oh, Strange Monkey was also in. A big thanks to everyone who stopped in. You guys are awesome. And also big thanks to our fantastic new guests who came on. I think we should give them a round of applause. So thank you very much for stopping in. Hopefully they'll come back. Hopefully we haven't fucking scared the shit out of them.
Don't say they all know who you're talking about. Don't you know he can play.
But yeah, no.
Harm.
You don't you're just a good old girl, never meaning no harm.
I don't mean no harm, darling.
Just get the Confederate flag off your car and we'll be done. Right. With the, I'm joking. It's a fucking Dukes of, for younger kids out there, it's a Dukes of Hazzard reference. Right. With that, we're going to end it here before people think that Jen goes around with a tiki torch. Have an awesome evening, guys. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Count 0.
Bye-bye.